Thanks for staying with us. You're watching News 360. In our first story this evening, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, says the electricity company of Ghana has no right to demand for payment if it cannot provide evidence of service rendered. He, however, explained the embassy set aside some amount of money to pay bills over the past 2 years.
Mr. Boache Ejakun had tweeted about the balance sheet of ECG during an interaction with journalists and officials of Millennium Development Authority. The minister said the debt stock of Ghana's power distributor is increasing by the day due to inefficiency. Mr. Ejakun added, the inability of ECG to improve its balance sheet is because it has failed to collect debt owed it by entities such as the U.S. Embassy. The Public Utility Workers Union has lashed out at the U.S. Embassy for supporting the Energy Minister's claims. In its reaction, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, expressed disappointment at the level of inefficiency at the electricity company of Ghana. He explained the embassy has for the past 2 years been asking the company to provide them with bills for service provided.
I think that the whole controversy about whether the American embassy has been able to get a bill, an itemized bill, in 2 years exemplifies some of the real challenges that ECG is facing. So we have set aside money to pay our bill to ECG, but ECG has not been able to give us an itemized bill. If you were paying for your electricity, you want to know how much electricity you used. I want to know how much electricity I'm using, and until somebody can tell me that, I'm not going to pay.
He noted several consultations with the ECG to provide the embassy with prepaid meters to make billing easier had been held, adding that the embassy is ready to settle the debt once the ECG provides bills for services rendered within the period.
The ECG argues that many of our properties are actually on grids that service non-American occupied residences or businesses. We have to get that sorted out before we can actually implement any prepaid metering system.
Meanwhile, the electricity company of Ghana insists that assertions by the United States Embassy in Ghana that it has not received bills in the last 2 years are untrue. According to workers of the ECG, the power distributor has been engaging the embassy to reconcile some unpaid bills due to challenges with faulty meters that it encountered in 2015.
The Energy Minister Boache Ejakun's statement on inefficiencies with ECG operations has triggered back-and-forth commentary from some institutions. While the ECG says the U.S. Embassy does not have arrears with electricity bills, the embassy insists it owes ECG. Officials of ECG, in explaining the debt position, say the U.S. Embassy has 2 accounts for the operations in Ghana. The embassy averagely pays 700,000 cedis a month for power. According to the General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union, Michael Nyantechi, as far as he is concerned, the U.S. Embassy had, as of March 2017, settled all its arrears.
They receive bill regularly and they pay. And they have paid as far as March 2017. So the question of not receiving bills for 2 years doesn't come in there at all.
He further explained that in 2015, however, there were challenges with the bills for 160 U.S. facilities across the country due to faulty prepaid meters.
I think what they did was to ring-fence that problem and then continue to read the accounts or the bills for the various facilities. So they have been receiving bills constantly for this group account, which they have paid as at February 2017. And that one, the total is around 300,000 Ghana.
According to ECG workers, efforts were being made to settle outstanding bills.
The only thing that is still in contention is that problem which came with the CMS which I'm sure they are still discussing.
When would they finalize that discussion? Because
when I cannot tell that whether they will sort it today or tomorrow or this.
All right, so this is interesting. Whereas the U.S. Embassy is saying that, look, ECG, we owe you. ECG, just as you heard from the Public Utilities Workers Union executive there, that per the records of ECG, the U.S. Embassy doesn't owe because they have two accounts. I just want to run you through how this story has traveled over the period for the past 2 days since it hits the media. And if you recall, this actually did come up when the Energy Minister, Aboagye Jacko, did make the statement that the debt stock of the ECG is increasing because it's not been able to collect the bills of such institutions as the U.S. Embassy. Then the U.S. Embassy comes out and says, we have not paid electricity bills for the past 2 years. We have not received bills for power use, according to the U.S. Embassy. And I'm just going to show you a number of tweets that was actually put out there by the U.S. Embassy. And they say that the U.S. Embassy does not owe us, according to the ECG. This was the reply they gave to the U.S. Embassy, I beg your pardon, when the embassy came and said that, look, we owe you. They said the problem has to do with inconsistencies in their bills. That's according to the ECG's explanation of the situation. Then there was a further development. There was a tweet from the U.S. Embassy, specifically who was the head of the Public Affairs Department there, that's the spokesperson for the embassy, Sarah Steele, who indicated that this tweet from the handle of the U.S. Embassy is indeed an official position of the U.S. Embassy. And it reads, the U.S. Embassy in Ghana has not refused to pay any electricity bills. We have been asking for official bills. And the second tweet continues and says, for embassy managed facilities for more than 2 years, so we can raise and also issue correct payments to them. And that's what you heard the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, indicating that if the ECG is unable to give them itemized bills to indicate the specific service offered to them, they're not ready to pay. The embassy has set aside funds for electricity, and we will continue to work with the ECG to get correct bills so we can pay. This is a tweet from the official handle of the U.S. Embassy. This back and forth is what has resulted in the public discourse as to whether the ECG is not being really ridiculous about this particular issue. I've been joined via Skype by Mr. Kojo Poku. He is an energy expert. Mr. Poku, good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us. Maybe there is something that we do not understand, because to the logical...
Good evening.
And
I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly, and help me here. From the logical and commonsensical analysis, somebody owes you, and the person says, I owe you money. Come and take your money. Bring itemized bills. Confirm the services that you give to me. Then you, the person who is owed, says, you don't owe me, and that you've paid up all your bills. Is that something that the common sense mind is missing in all of this discourse?
Well, what I want to say is that where is the management of ECG in all of this? You see, the reports that we keep hearing is that the labor union, you know, PUWU is a Power Utility Workers Union. Okay, they are a union, they are not management. So to me, the right thing would have been in any organization, when there is the thought that somebody out there owes, or the minister now made mention that somebody owes you, what does it take for ECG management to call the U.S. Embassy to their conference room, or they go over to the U.S. Embassy, whoever? But the appropriate thing would be for management of ECG to call the U.S. Embassy to their office, sit down, let them bring their records. They bring their records, and they reconcile in a day. That is what any business will do. Now, this back and forth media war of this person issuing a rejoinder, this person now saying this, it does not cut out. That is why government has made a point that, look, enough is enough. Let's bring in private participation. Because if it's a private company, this thing will not happen. No, but are you telling me that Asogili or Kasaprekun will sit there for this to happen?
But Kojo Poku, I want to understand this. I mean, where is the missing link here? I mean, to the extent that the U.S. Embassy said it is willing to pay, has set aside funds to do that, then the ECG, which has its image battered according to them, by the minister's statement that they are inefficient in collecting their bills, the U.S. Embassy says, look, we have money to give you. And the normal circumstances, or to the common sense mind, it should be good news for them to go and take it. But then they rather mount a defense and says, you don't owe us. I want to understand if it's an issue.
Let me explain. Let me explain a little bit.
Yes.
It's not an outright you don't owe us. There is a matter of reconciliation.
So it's a bookkeeping issue.
Right. If you read a tweet from the U.S. Embassy, they are saying that we are waiting for proper billing, because what it is that they know that from what they use and their facilities that they have, the bills they are paying is not the right bill. They know, because you see, they have metering and they have their own electrical engineers. So they know that per the usage that their facilities are using, they are not paying the right bill. That's why they are saying that they have set money aside. The way the U.S. Embassy works, year on year, if the money goes back to State Department, they will not get it back. So what it is that they know, as per their records, that whatever they are paying month on month to ECG is not the right amount. Now, as far as ECG is concerned, as long as every month U.S. Embassy pays some bill, that is what they are saying, that, look, U.S. Embassy gets updated bill, so they don't owe us. But that tells you the efficiency that goes into the commercial losses of the company. When we talk about technical losses and commercial losses, these are some of them. Proper billing. So if U.S. Embassy is not an organization who does not want to be on the side of error and wants to do the right thing, any institution, you will not hear this come up. So that's the problem. It's a matter of reconciliation. It's not that they are not getting bills. They are getting bills. But according to U.S. Embassy, they don't think that the bills they get are the right bills.
Are the right bills, and they've been chasing them for the past 2 years. Thank you, Mr. Kojopoko, for this understanding. A matter of bookkeeping and reconciliation. That's Kojopoko. He's an energy expert to help us make sense of everything that's been going on with this ECG U.S. Embassy saga. Natalie.
Absolutely, Alfred. But let's turn our attention to other stories this evening, as the Progressive People's Party is recommending firm action on persons involved in undermining the rule of law in the Delta Force 8 case. The national chairman of the party, Ni Alote Hammond, addressing a news conference in Koforidua, said the party is shocked and dismayed over the withdrawal of proceedings against the 8 persons.
We must realize that any attempt to use state power to close the eyes to indiscipline is bound to boomerang with dangerous consequences. We have allowed these groups to flourish by making the legitimate security services almost powerless and not showing any interest to perform their legitimate mandate.
The national chairman of the Progressive People's Party, Ni Alote Hammond, reiterated the party's condemnation in what it described as terms the clear lack of law, leadership and enforcement of the law to deal with the matter.
The posture by the NPP prosecutor calls for all to rebuke it, knowing that our inability to do anything will only allow further evil to triumph. We as Ghanaians credit ourselves with the stability in government transition, but we must not be so cocky as to ignore the real threats in front of us.
The PPP demanded the Attorney General takes urgent steps to stop what he termed the impunity generating into an undisciplined society. He questioned the responsibilities of the police officers and argued it was the same excuse and a lack of interest in cases by the Attorney General which has led to the state losing millions of cedis over judgment debt.
Now, the Ghana Bar Association, GB, has expressed anxiety over the discharge of some 8 members of pro-NPP vigilante group Delta Force by a Kumasi Circuit Court, supposedly on the advice of the Attorney General's Department. Also, a statement signed by the GBA President Benson Nutukwi reiterates the association's earlier call to ensure that all persons who played any role in the attack on the court are arrested, duly charged and prosecuted. The Bar Association further called on the Ghana Police Service to investigate the matter in its entirety and ensure the perpetrators are brought to justice. The statement noted that it is a threat to the rule of law if the impression is created that persons who engage in lawlessness can escape the arm of law. it is of the view that justice will not be served if the discharge of the accused persons ends the matter.
Still on this issue, the 13 members of the Delta Force will know their fate on June 15, 2017, following the Attorney General's plea to the KMA Circuit Court for more time to enable it to study the docket. William Evans Inkum was at the court earlier today and came through with the following report.
The 13 members of the Delta Force have been charged with disturbances and attack on a public officer. On April 18, the KMA Circuit Court, presided over by Her Honor Mary Century, adjourned the case after the prosecutor told the court that the AG needed time to study the docket. The court again adjourned hearing to June 15, following another plea by the AG to allow it to do further studies on the docket. Matthew Apia is a lawyer for the accused persons.
It is within the Attorney General's department to take a docket and take a decision the period within which they want to study the docket. Let us wait. Let's exercise patience. It will come. We are ready for the trial. So whether Attorney General decides to prosecute or not to prosecute, we are ready.
The news team sought to find out reasons for the delay by the Attorney General from the prosecutor, ACP Ochridako.
The AG called for the docket somewhere last month. And as of today, they are so not done with the case. So I met them today and they indicated that they need some few weeks.
Is it affecting the legal process?
I don't think so.
Security was tight at the court's premises.
Workers undertaking the Tema Port expansion project have demonstrated over poor working conditions. They accuse the employers, China Harbour Engineering Company, of not complying with terms of their engagement. They've also accused China Harbour Company of the management of the staff to a private recruitment agency.
Work came to a standstill on Thursday morning. Workers of the Tema Port expansion project say they had asked for improvements in risk allowance and salaries, but none of these has been heeded to. They said there was an agreed basic salary which was to be increased as the work progresses in phases, but the reverse has been happening as their pay is gradually being reduced. According to them, there have been a series of meetings between the leadership of the striking workers and the Maritime Dock Workers Union, but nothing has come out of those meetings. They threatened not to return to work if their grievances are not addressed.
I've been joined on the telephone by Peter Kranting, who is the chairman of the Maritime Dock Workers Union. So, Kranting, good evening to you, if you can hear me. First of all, now, you have sat in meetings with this China company that the workers are saying that they are being maltreated. What exactly was the posturing of the management of that company towards the demands that you were making?
Yeah, thank you very much. The problem, the basic problem lies with the outsourcing arrangement of the employees. That is, the employees work for China Engineering Company, Czech, but their employer is Lene. And that creates, very serious challenge for the employees. It's a job that goes with a lot of risk. They are undertaking the expansion of the Tema Port. And definitely there are occupational injuries. People get hurt in the course of their work. And the workers are worried that when you get hurt, by doing your work on site, then you have a problem as to whether you hold Czech responsible or you have to go to the knee. And then when that happens, it's like you're hanging between two wells.
Okay, but Mr. Kwante, what is stated in their terms of engagement with the company? Lene is an outsourced company that is outsourcing for and on behalf of the Chinese company. I'm sure that they signed some agreements with Lene when Lene engaged them on behalf of the company. In terms of occupational hazards, what was stated in their engagement letter with Lene?
Actually, Lene is more or less now the employer. So sometimes even the Czech company employs them and then offloads them to the name, you know. And let me also mention that it is even now that we are going through unionization. So the unionization has not been completed. So they didn't have any union to champion their cause. And then even for us, we are now in the process of unionization, but we have been caught up in this kind of problem where the workers are involved in agitations, and then we have to lead them. The second point is the fact that salaries are so low. Some of the things that we've realized, are the things that I'm talking about. Salaries are so low, to the extent that you get surprised that a company like this can be paying salaries around the minimum wage,
Right.
And these are high skilled employees.
Right.
Then the other side of it is the workers are talking about that they should be provided with a bus, to be able to transport themselves to work. And then intimidation and threats. Sometimes the workers, there's some level of evidence to show that for very small infractions, you can lose your job in a very, very short time, and then you can be given 2 weeks notice. And these are the things that these are some of the things that we have been dealing with.
Great. Mr. Quanting, thank you. Peter Quanting is the chairman of the Maritime Dock Workers Union on this matter.
In a related development, still on issues of poor conditions of work, workers of Labadi Beach Hotel have embarked on a protest over poor conditions of service. According to the workers, attempts to get the issue addressed have proved futile.
The Labadi Beach Hotel workers say they have an arrangement with management for a yearly salary increment. However, the 2016 increment has not been paid since October last year. This, they say, has put them in a very dire situation. The chairman for the workers' union, Emmanuel Date, said they presented their grievances to the management of the hotel earlier this year, but nothing has been done about it. A staff who spoke to TV3 said their normal salaries are being paid, but the increment is not forthcoming. He said the leadership of the workers is always faced with victimization whenever it's time for salary negotiations.
We need to pay school fees. Some need to pay rent. And still, this man says he's staying in 4-bedroom. One person, no wife, no children, nothing.
It's a day of strikes, isn't it? But let's find out how the weather will be throughout the night into tomorrow morning.
You're watching News 360. Return with the very latest from the world of business shortly. Stay with us.
It's time for business. Good evening and thanks for staying with us on News 360. My name is Nanikia Mensah Abrampa, and coming up tonight, Ghana's non-traditional exports from January to December 2016 amounted to $2.463 billion, and this represented a decrease of 2.3% compared to the earnings of $2.522 billion recorded in 2015. Now, the low performance has been attributed to the decline in the export of some cocoa products, which fell by 16%. The decline in export of some processed cocoa products fell from $643.3 million in 2015 to $542.3 million in 2016. Total earnings from the non-traditional export sector was driven by three main subsectors, namely agriculture, processed and semi-processed foods, and handicrafts. Processed and semi-processed foods topped the subsectors with $2,086.49 million, followed by agriculture with $371.14 million and handicrafts with $5.22 million. Ghana's non-traditional products were exported to 130 countries, with ECOWAS and European Union absorbing 37.33% and 32.33% respectively. The EU market declined by 11.8%, with ECOWAS growing by 15%.
We have a potential in the ECOWAS market, and then of course for the African Free Trade Area, which is going to come into effect by the end of the year 2017. That is also another area that we would have to focus on.
Speaking at the launch of the 2016 data statistics, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Exports Promotion Authority, Gifty Clenam, said the full potential of its value-added products are yet to be realized through enhanced investment in agro-processing. She says the authority will this year adopt cashew as a priority export commodity.
Cashew Association themselves are putting up an interim board, and cashew authority board that is going to help them to structure their work.
Head of Export Trade at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ebu Kwesin, said as part of government's One District, One Factory policy, efforts to grow the industrial sector will support the country's exports.
The focus on value addition of our primary export products will reduce our over-reliance on primary export products, which are subjected to the instability in commodity prices, and afford us a position to command premium prices for our exports.
Lack of resources to run programs remains a challenge for the authority.
Right, so briefly looking at what contributes to the non-traditional exports sector, we have three major subsectors, and that is handicraft, agriculture and processed and semi-processed subsectors. Now, looking at a breakdown of it year around, that is comparing 2016 to 2015, and in terms of percentage changes, that is what you're seeing. For the handicrafts subsector, we recorded $5.22 million. That is in 2016, and in 2015 we saw $4.27 million, and that amounted to a percentage change of 22.25%. And for agriculture sector, $371.14 million was recorded in 2016. Earnings in 2015 amounted to $396.91. Definitely there is a negative percentage change there, 6.49%, and same applies for the processed and semi-processed. Earnings $2,086.49 million, and for 2015 they earned $2,120.50 million, also showing negative signs of 1.60 percentage points there. But for the records, the processed and semi-processed still remains the #1 subsector, the topmost subsector, with 84% share when it comes to non-traditional export performance here in Ghana. Let's move away from that onto some more stories tonight. And the Ghana Oil Company Limited, GOIL, has earmarked $20 million to construct a bitumen plant at Tema. The outgoing board chairman of GOIL, Professor William Asumenin, made this known at the company's annual general meeting here in Accra.
The board chairman, Professor William Asumenin, reiterated the company's resolve in improving performance of the company. GOIL's market share has increased from 13.6% in 2009 to 18.2% last year, making it the market leader. Between 2009 and 2016, GOIL has achieved 95.8% of its fuel sales target, despite stiff competition from other companies. GOIL again grew the sale of LPG by 30% in 2015, while lubricant sales also grew by 11%. The company achieved a turnover in excess of 2 million cedis, representing 26.95% in 2016, while net profit grew to 35.256 million cedis in the same year.
I'm delighted to say that the company's asset base has grown by over 500% since this board took over in 2009. GOIL has started an exercise to revalue its landed properties and plant and machinery to establish the true value of these assets.
The outgoing board chairman, Professor William Esmenin, charged the incoming board to construct the bitumen plant.
The year 2017 will see the construction of a bitumen plant in Tema. The company considered this project vital since access to bitumen by road contractors will be made easier when the plant becomes operational.
Managing Director of GOIL, Patrick Kwame Akoli, was emphatic the bitumen plant would improve operations of road contractors.
All the road works that are done now, we have to import the bitumen. So I just assume that we have the plant here. It will lower the cost of bitumen, and road works become a lot more easier and then less expensive.
The new board chairman, Kwame Nabatels, promised to sustain the expansion drive.
Expansion of the retail outlets. We are looking at various other activities that would increase our market share from the 18.3% to 35% or even more.
GOIL has been selling its fuel at competitive prices and also distributes marine fuel. In 2015, it put up an aviation turbine kerosene tank at the Kumasi airport to supply fuel to domestic airlines.
Now, media ratings agency Geopol has introduced a new and effective way of advertising on the Ghanaian markets. The new product, which focuses on out-of-home advertisements, was unveiled at a stakeholder engagement here in Accra.
This joint product from Geopol, Kanta Media and Kwende provides unprecedented, robust data on the reach of billboards, transport ads and other out-of-home mediums in major urban areas throughout Africa. This data allows brands and agencies to accurately gauge the effectiveness and return on investment of their out-of-home advertisements. Using a cutting-edge combination of Geopol mobile survey data and satellite imagery, it provides accurate, reliable data not only on where and when foot and vehicle traffic is most heavy, but also what demographic groups are viewing each out-of-home advertisement.
Over the last 3 years, we've done a lot of developments within our ecosystem, and one of them is out-of-home measurement. Out-of-home data was not being provided by anybody in Africa, and it was a blind spot for a lot of media buyers and media owners alike. So this was to enlighten the people in Ghana about our out-of-home media product and also some new developments with our app.
The biggest inhibitor of out-of-home advertising adoption has been the lack of tools to measure media consumption and audience measurement. Geopol is the world's largest mobile survey platform with a database of nearly 200 million users in Africa and in Asia. Mr. Hilon says the new product also has features which include information on trip habits of different demographic groups on weekends and weekdays.
Out-of-home is a big part of the advertising spend of any brand, and it accounts for a large amount of money that's being spent by brands is being spent by just gut feel, by this is a nice site, this is a billboard that should be good. So we want to change that should be good to is good by actually providing some information there, by telling you how many people are actually seeing that billboard during the course of a month, a week, 10 days.
Right, so that will do for business this evening. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Bampa. Let's go back to Alfred and Natalie to wrap up for the segment. But I'm sure you've heard the cashew being a priority export.
Absolutely, and it should be a focus. Okay. And let's see how we can make some most out of it.
Okay, all right.
We'll be back shortly with some more stories. Still stay with us.
In the 65 communities of the Salaga North constituency in the northern region, residents are proposing water treatment remedies to reduce the risk of contracting waterborne diseases.
Majority of residents in some parts of the northern region still lack access to potable drinking water. The Sustainable Development Goal SDG 60 stipulates water should be readily available for use when needed. Efforts to achieve this goal may suffer some setbacks, especially for the Salga North constituency of the northern region. Dugouts and rivers are the main sources of drinking water for about 95% of communities. Only 7 out of the 65 communities have access to potable water. UNICEF and the government of Ghana constructed the first pipe-borne water facility in 7 communities in 2011 under the Guinea worm eradication project.
We are competing with animals and other livestock. So we are appealing to the government for his aid to come and help us to also get a reliable water, a potable water. If not, the Guinea worm pandemic will not be surprised to resurface in the near future.
Those without water sources trek for at least 4 kilometers to fetch water, while others depend on the benevolence of contractors for water supply. Residents, with the support from the Member of Parliament for the area, Alhaji Al-Hassan Mumuni, have dug dams as the rains set in to store water, but this has its own problems.
If we can get more boreholes to link up with this existing system, at least we can have some regular water supply. Because these things that we are seeing, they are not reliable water sources. You can feed animals. It's not potable for drinking.
Alhaji Al-Hassan Mumini proposed the extension of the Ghana Social Opportunity Program to dredge existing dugouts to save more water for use.
It's a pretty worrying situation.
Absolutely, very, very worrying situation. Hopes it's attended to soon. You're still watching News 360. Remember, this bulletin is streaming live on GhanaWeb.com as well as News on TV3 on Facebook and 3news.com. Return with more news shortly. Stay with us.
And in terms of news this evening, Afro hair was in vogue some years ago, and the trends show that young ladies are now going back to it. While some say it is fashion, others also think it's less costly. In this report, Odelia Ajiman Prempe takes a look at the new way young ladies now keep their hair.
Years ago, Afro, or the natural hair, was common. The trend, however, changed when the stretching comb was used to relax hair. Then came more modern trends, curls, popularly known as jelly curls. Jelly curls was done by both men and women. As women yearned for more beauty, braids, weave-ons, cornrow, among others, also emerged. While some women can successfully grow long, relaxed hair, many others think they have benefited from healthy natural hair. After rejecting natural hair for ages, however, some young ladies have gone back to the past for the craze.
With the natural hair, it doesn't break. It makes my hair healthy. When I do the perm hair, it breaks.
There are many stories of women who could only achieve chin-length hair while relaxed. But after going natural, they grow longer hair than they ever did. Some women say natural hair is healthier.
I like natural hair because natural is a simple hair. You going for retouching and those stuff, to me, it's not good for my health.
A cosmetologist at Second Image, Emma Yankee, explained black hair is already fragile enough, and the use of chemicals may damage it further.
Natural hair is trending now, so a lot of people walk into the salon to have natural hair. Others to complain about headache when they use the chemical products in their hair. And so these are some of the reasons why now people are changing.
This is especially encouraging to women with young children. Ladies who use chemicals will have to work extra hard to take care of it. Some men prefer women with natural hair, and the reasons vary.
I prefer the natural hair because it makes them beautiful, and we see the African beauty in them.
I'll go for a natural hair woman. Simply, it brings out your beauty. It also cuts down cost.
Hair care experts have suggested very minimal use of chemicals in order to keep one's hair in healthy shape. And since natural hair comes with no use of chemicals, perhaps it is the best way ladies can stay healthy.
Certainly, many are gravitating towards natural hair. Alfred Ekin.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out if that was your natural hair.
I have thought of going natural before. I've actually attempted going
hair?
natural before. I have. Interesting perspectives there. But let's now take a look at the news from the international community.
Anti-poverty campaign group Oxfam says the wealth of Nigeria's 5 richest people could wipe extreme poverty in that country. Oxfam says almost 100 million people live on less than $1 a day. It notes the wealth of the 5 richest Nigerians put together, according to Forbes Black Billionaires 2016, total almost $30 billion.
Well, that's it for the news this evening. My name is Alfred Akansi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. Thanks so much for your time this evening. Remember, news at 10, it will simulcast on 3FM 92.7. There's also more news on our website, 3news.com. Next is Do Not Love Me So Much. Have a good evening.